everyone. Hi, research students. I am Lori. I am the research coordinator right now. And at this moment, we'll try our best to learn from our former student, Ria. And I think I've quite introduced her a lot already in the previous emails. But yeah, she is a rising freshman at Hofstra University as part of their BSMD program. And throughout her high school, she's been, exploring and delving into research, particularly in the field of genetics, specifically in the field of cardiovascular conditions. And that's also what she plans to do in college. And I'm also proud to say that Ria is our former CCP student who received multiple BSMD offers, right? Like around four. I'm correct, right? We have four BSMD offers. And she is now one of our research interns. So go ahead, Ria.
Thank you, Lori. I appreciate the introduction. So yeah, as she said, I'm also a former research student of Gifted Gappers, so I'm very familiar with how the process works. So I think like the main point of today's session was kind of to just get you guys introduced to BioRender so you guys can start creating your images. If I'm not mistaken, most of you had your one-on-one meetings with your professors and you guys are making good progress with actually writing the bulk of your research paper, which is really great. But, research is also very descriptive as well as analytical. So it really helps that you have pictures to kind of go with what you're saying and kind of, elaborate on the research that you already have. It's a pretty straightforward platform. I mean, it's not really complicated to use, but I'm just gonna quickly walk you through it. And okay, I'm gonna share my screen. So this is the platform BioRender. And you can go ahead and sign in or sign up. And okay, the good thing about BioRender is that it lets you create 5 free templates without paying for their premium subscription. So for my research paper last year, you can see that I have quite a few illustrations that I've done. So I'm gonna create a new one. You don't have to buy the premium subscription. If you wanted to, you definitely could. It's definitely not something that's mandatory. If you don't buy the premium subscription, there is a little watermark at the bottom here, but it's not super huge. You could crop it out if you wanted to or something like that. So BioRender, it's basically like Google Drawings, I will say, except that it's more focused on the science aspect. So when you open up your template and when you open up your illustration, firstly, you have your search bars. So if there's something that you're looking for in particular, there's something you can search let's see, nucleic acids maybe, right? They have plenty of those. Some are premium, some are not. But they have various options that you can use. So that's the search thing, pretty straightforward. You have your icons. This is probably what I used the most when I was making my images. So you have different cell types, right? If that's pertaining to your research, let's say you're doing research on, how cancer affects muscular cells or neural cells, you have a lot of options that you can choose from, something to connect with your research. There's a lot of things that you can do. You have cell types, you have membranes, cell structures. If you're looking for the chemical aspect of nucleic acids, you would also have that, amino acids, all of that stuff. So this is probably what you will end up using the most when you're creating your images. But if you didn't want to use something that they're already giving you, you also have the option to upload. So during my research last year, right, I uploaded a lot of different images that I found off of Google or off of, research papers, and I cited that. So, if you don't want to create your own, that's fine. You also have the option to upload if you find something that's more descriptive than what you're able to create. That's also okay. Just make sure you're citing it properly in your listed works and works cited. This is okay, the PDB builder. So this function, I was looking into this. This function wasn't actually present last year when I was doing my research, but if you wanted to make protein icons, let's say your research is very heavily focused on protein structure and you wanted something to really describe that, you could definitely use this feature as well. Um, and yeah, the rest of it is pretty straightforward. If you click on a picture, you're able to change its transparency, its style, the way you want it to, sit. You can obviously move it around on your screen. You can crop stuff. You can add lines, shapes. Like I said, it's very similar to Google Drawings, except it's more focused on biology and science, and it will help make your paper stand out when you go for publication to the Journal of Student Research or other publication websites and editors. It really makes a difference that you have visual images that isn't just words and can connect your research pretty well. So that's why I would say it's pretty important. Obviously, you don't want to overdo it. If you don't feel like you need 5 images for your paper, you're not under any obligation to do 5. Whatever you feel connects best with your research and with your paper is what I would suggest.
All right. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Ria, but do you have your previous research paper, and can you also show us somewhat an example of what you've done in your previous research and how you've utilized BioRender um in that study?
Yeah, of course. I can definitely pull that up. So, my paper last year, I wrote about the genetics and biomarkers behind cardiac arrhythmias and its correlation with heart failure. So, as Lori said when she was, introducing me, genetics is definitely a topic of interest for me, and also cardiology. I'm very passionate about that field of medicine. So, I wanted to kind of combine the two, and I came across this topic, which is pretty niche, which I'm sure all of you guys also have very niche topics. And I was also telling my research interns that if it's hard to find research about your topic, that's a good thing. It means it's niche, it's a very developing scientific idea, and that's good. You want to make sure that you're adding and contributing something new to the field of science. So, yeah, this is kind of my paper.
Wow, thank you so much, Ria. All right, so we're now going to open the floor for your questions. So you may ask Ria any specific questions that you might have.
Yeah, so I don't remember if you went over this, but what are the limitations of like the free version of BioRender?
Yeah, so the limitations is it's 5 illustrations for the free version, and it comes with a small watermark at like the bottom right corner, which you can probably crop out. And you have a few premium images, a few premium templates that you can't use, but they have such like a wide selection that you would never really feel like you're missing out on something with the free version. But if you see like a future with that software, and if you want to buy the premium version, you go for it. Yes, Aisha.
Hi, so I don't know if you went over this, but how many research papers did you write before applying for colleges? And would you say there's a certain amount we should have written before we start applying?
Definitely not. They're like, colleges don't really look at a certain benchmark, and they don't accept people based on how many research papers they've written. I have a couple of published articles, and I have a few other like research opportunities that I did throughout high school, but like, I'm a really big believer in quality over quantity. If you find something that is of more value to you and it's something that you're more passionate about, I would definitely feel that you should have a better vested interest in pursuing that than trying to hit a benchmark, because admissions officers don't really look at that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yes, Ansh, go ahead.
So, when you were writing your paper or your papers, as you were saying, if you do or have encountered writer's block, what's your advice for getting over it?
Oh, okay, this is a good question because, okay, so this is like a summer research cohort, right? So writer's block is probably one of your biggest struggles. But for me, when I was writing my paper, I would write as I researched. I didn't research all at once. So if I was, focusing on genes behind cardiac arrhythmias, I didn't skip to heart failure. Like I waited till I was done writing my research about genes and cardiac arrhythmic relation before I moved on to something else. And so, getting all of my research into paragraphs and on paper made it really easy for me to kind of formulate and move forward. It doesn't work for everyone, but like if you're having writer's block, then try creating an image or two that's relevant to the research and the writing that you've already done. That might, like start your brain again. And that's something that you could do as well. But yeah.
Okay, so just take it step by step and see where it goes
I
from
would
there.
I would take it step by step.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, go ahead, Manish.
So for your like essays, you know how you start your each section, like for like a draft, for example, like you know how you start your each section. So how do you like overcome that starting problem? Because like whenever I start my essay for each section, I kind of like keep on thinking of how to like connect it back to where I was writing and like make all like the research paper flow together. So
Great question. So for me and maybe for a few other people, writing the introduction and the conclusion and even the abstract, that's kind of the hardest place. And so if you're writing and you feel that your abstract is not up to par, that's very understandable because I went back and I rewrote my abstract once I was done with all of my research. But I would suggest like start from the middle because once you know what you want to talk about, you can make it more eloquent if you have the substance for it, right? I would like focus on getting a lot of the research heavy stuff down on paper before you start thinking about what, sounds better rather than, just like starting to string together sentences. I would start at like the middle of a paragraph or at the middle of your paper and get that all down. And then once you know what you're talking about, it's very easy to make it sound better.
okay.
Okay, go ahead, Reza.
I was just looking on the BioRender website and saying that like if you want to like publish like the images inside of like a journal or something, you need a publication license to do that. Is that just for like?
That's if you want to publish the picture on its own. You want to put your picture as a part of your paper. You don't want to publish the picture on its own. That's
Okay.
why. Yeah.
Alright.
Yes, Anj, go ahead.
I was wondering when you were applying for colleges, I assume you already had completed and published one of your research papers. So I was just wondering how you like conveyed that idea to colleges without sounding, I guess, like contentious or
Contentious or egotistical.
Yeah.
I completely get it. So I'm not gonna lie to you, College Common App, the platform, it is very much a platform to toot your own horn and brag about yourself. So I fully just, added the link for, the publications that I had. Because that's kind of what it's there for. They're not going to think of you as contentious or, as, full of yourself when you're just kind of sharing what you've done. However, if you're writing about, an article that you've published as a part of your supplemental essays, you want to go about it with a little bit of care to show that like it's a dignified accomplishment, but you're still humble about it. Like it's good to share about what you've done, but you want to be careful that you're not coming off as, like you said, contentious. So make sure that you're balancing it by saying like, yeah, I published this, but I wanted to learn more. So I also, I wanted to explore this field, or I want to do something at your college that can help me build off what I've already learned, or something like that. If you're, giving yourself all of that credit, you want to make sure that some of it also goes to the college to kind of balance it and not make it seem like you're really full of yourself.
Okay, probably, yeah, I think most of you were able to ask questions already. But before we end, probably Riya, just give them a few tips for college application. Probably right now they're already kind of overwhelmed with all the supplemental essays, trying to publish their research. So probably like last few words before we leave this Zoom meeting, just to encourage our students.
Yeah, so I mean, like you guys have already taken, a pretty monumental step by deciding that you want to pursue research, which is really great on your college applications. And for those of you that are rising juniors, like, I know AP season is very stressful, junior year is very stressful, but take it one day at a time, a week at a time, semester at a time, and you should be fine. For those of you who are rising seniors, good luck on your college application process. Applying to colleges is a little bit stressful, but my biggest piece of advice that I would give you would be stay very organized, make a lot of Excel sheets to see like what schools are asking for what supplemental essays, when deadlines are, because those deadlines, they come up pretty quick. October 15th, I believe, should be one of your first deadlines if you guys are doing early decision or early action. So it comes up pretty quick, but if you're having writer's block, that is very natural. If you feel an idea come to you at 3 a.m., write whenever you can. It's very hard to get ideas as soon as you come home from school or, right after dinner or something like that. But, make sure that like you're putting something of quality in your papers. Reflect back on your experiences throughout high school. It may seem like you guys don't have a lot of them, but I promise you, you do. When I started writing, I thought I was very boring and had nothing to tell colleges. But it turns out you have a lot to share about your personality, about what you've done throughout high school. So just, take pride in what you've done and just go from there.
Wow, what a smart advice, Ria. Thank you. And probably just to add on that, I don't know if this would even add value, but we also had sessions with an ex-admission officer for the CCP students out here. And I like what Clark said, that when you're trying to write, this is specifically for essays, when you're trying to write essays, you don't really have to like explicitly say that I am this.
Yeah.
But when you try to describe what you're doing, the values, it comes out naturally. So you leave the space for the college admission officer to understand or to pick it up that, oh, this student is really a leader, or this student is passionate about this research. So you don't, but for activities though, for like describing it, you really have to be straightforward that you published 4,000
Right.
blah blah blah. So yeah.
Because like on Common App, you guys like, for those of you who are rising seniors may already have done this, but you get like 10 activities that you have to fill in, and you have 150 characters to describe what you've done, like characters including spaces. So it does not even come out to be like more than 10 words. It's like absolutely nothing, and you have to take that and just run with it, right? So you really got to be like, it tests you overall as a student. You have to be eloquent, but you have to be straightforward. You have to, be humble, but you also have to be proud of your accomplishments. Like it's a thin line to walk, but I mean, it's a rite of passage for us. So you guys will get through it just fine.
All right. We don't have any more questions, guys. We're going to wrap this meeting up. So none. If there are a lot more, you can definitely ask us in Discord or even email Ria as well. Like I said, just tune in. I'm still inviting another intern who's already in college, and we can ask him a lot more questions about college and research as well. Okay? All right. Thank you so much. So that's it. Break a leg. Good luck on your college application, everyone. And thank you, Ria.